Okay, welcome back to Farm Radio. Here we have, this is one of those nostalgia combo units. Happens to be an Emerson, but please don't mistake that with the Emerson of yesteryear. What I want to do is, an older couple is looking for something to play their records on, so we came across this. This is actually one of two. I have a second one of these, and that's the one that has the defect. This is the donor. Not really a donor, but it's a donor so I can see what's wrong with the other one, and I'll explain. It's an Emerson NR303TT. 2005. So it's just about 9 years old. This doesn't look like it had a lot of use. These do not scream quality, okay? None of these newer models do. I don't even go... Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but no tone-on bearings, high weight, pressure, stylus pressure. In some cases, the albums cost more than the machine that plays them. But anyway, this is a deluxe model, as it has the auto return feature. Now, like I said, this is the functioning one. Well, I don't know. I just got this in the mail. I don't know if it functions or not. The other one, the radio works, the CD works, everything works except the turntable. And I'll explain. And the first thing that happened on the other one is I simply opened the tone armrest and this piece of plastic broke off. I mean, that's how much these scream quality. But I'm going to give you a go through on these so you can try to troubleshoot any you may have for other people. Later on I'll get into the motor. This is not for this one, but you may have seen these advertised online. These are the 2-speed / 3-speed motors used in these Crosley-type nostalgia players. And we'll get into that a little bit later. I still don't know if this will be an adequate replacement. It claims to be. Again, that's not for this particular one. It's for our suffering one. Oh, and let's not forget the tape player that I would not trust my prized cassettes in either. Okay, this one's probably has some better quality than other brands, but anyway, enough about the quality of these things. Cardboard, compressed cardboard. I've seen some sites call these genuine oak, hardwood oak. It's basically a laminate on compressed cardboard. It's very little, all show, very little go. Anyway, what I want to do is open this up and take a look inside, because my defective one that the turntable does not turn has a burnt resistor, and I want to see what it looks like on this. I read about 20 ohms on the one that's got the bad motor. I'll tell you how I determined the motor was the issue a little later on. So let's get this open. Enough talking here. Okay, I have one portion of the bottom removed. Now I have to take this off. This is the CD player. And I'm just noting this more or less for the reassembly of the other one. But they run one of the speaker wires through the darn CD player. So you have to lift the CD player to get the speaker wire out so you can get the CD player out. I'll explain later. The resistor I'm looking for is in there. It's down on the tuner board, which you can't get to. And of course the turntable is like the hardest thing to get out of here. It's not very easily removed, but we'll take that out of there. To remove the turntable, these aren't supposed to fall off like this, but they're basically like a snap clasp. You unhook them this way. They're this way from the factory. You snap them this way to pull out the changer. They're supposed to stay on the end of the screw. there. There's our motor, which we can test. And later on I'm going to explain what's going on here. I'm going to go ahead and remove the C-clip and take my platter off, which also will remove the belt. There goes my clip. Okay, so we're just going to put the belt on here. A safe measure. Try not to get any grease on it. I'll get into this part of things a little later on also. The factory, to load the belt back on this, there's little tabs here, there and there. And you put the belt on like that. Then you place it on the changer and you rotate it. You place it over the motor pulley and you rotate it. And if you're lucky enough, it attaches to the pulley, no problem. While I have this off, I'm going to look at that pulley. I want to see if our replacement motor, because this is where they're going to get me, if that's the same size as that. There are different numbers. If there's a way for them to screw with you, they'll screw with you. So, yeah, I'd like to try that in this, but this is for, again, the other player. And after spending no less than 5 minutes, well, about no more than 5 minutes, I found my clip stuck to the plastic. Just put that back on there so I don't lose it. Better yet, I'll put it with the up there with the platter. Oh, let's look at this motor a little bit, shall we? Some motors come with the pulley and some without. Now, in my experience, I had to change the pulley, and I tried transferring from one motor to another. When I try to lift the pulley off, the whole shaft comes out of the motor and ruins the motor. So let's get this guy over here. Let's do a little side by side. See what I'm saying? This pulley is not the same. I don't know, hard to tell here. I'll measure that later. It's almost like that's why they put the pulley on here. So much prefer to get... That pulley is definitely wider. Well, hopefully there'll be enough variation. I don't know. When you line them up, let's do it on camera here. I'm trying, but we'll measure it with the calipers later on. Okay, enough of that. I should check the height though. Okay, that's definitely a no-go on the height. This one is much, much taller. Much taller. You can try removing this one, but you can see they glued it. And I'm not changing the motor anyway. I've bought this motor as a spare to learn a little about it, but what I'm going to change on the other motor, what I determined was wrong with the other motor, is the speed control regulator is shorted. The motor is fine, and when I get to that part of the video, I'll explain that. So this motor is not an out-of-the-box. Well, it does have the same. There's a 2F and a 3F, and nowhere is that explained. In fact, you can even get this motor in a single speed with that same part number, I am pretty sure. I'm going to explain one other thing about this turntable, and what took me a little bit of time to figure out is this power wire scheme here. I know that's minus, that's plus, but they have this other wire tacked on that also comes from the switch. And what that is, on this particular model, I'm not sure if they're all like that, on the one that wasn't working, you switched to phono, you had no sound. Now I could see if the motor was bad. No sound at the pickup also. Tape, CD, radio is fine. Switch it to phono, no spin, no sound. So what was happening on that one is the 12 volts on this motor, when you turn the turntable on, would go down to 2 volts because the regulator is shorted. That's my guess. I have a regulator for the other motor on order, and we'll see. When it cuts it down to 2 volts because it's shorted, there's a DC1 and DC2 over here on this board, and for some reason they turn the amplifier, they mute the amplifier when the turntable is not on. Well, that's the CD, so it's over here in that corner down there. By the switch, all that, that's nasty in there, and that's where I have to go. And I want to look at that resistor. So I'll take the CD player out next. And by the way, there's the clasps in the normal position. That's closed, that's open. You don't have to take these off. They're just a copy of what's been used for years. Well, on second thought, I could take the CD player out, but again, I've had so much fun with the other one. I just wanted to see that resistor, which I'll stick the camera in there. I remember it being around 20 ohms, and I don't know if you can see that or not. The camera won't fit in there. That resistor is red, black, 22 ohms. It's right in that corner there. See, I can't get you in close enough. I have to take my word for it. It's the only resistor that's standing up, and the purpose of that, that's like a, I don't want to say a load resistor, but what I'm figuring happened to the other one is for some reason, maybe a kid at Christmas time, who knows, they stopped, the turntable got stopped, and that resistor, it's like a load resistor. If the motor can't turn, that resistor takes all the heat. It's a 1/4 watt, 22 ohm. And that's charred on my other one, but it's not open. So that's good. That's all I had to explore. That's the only reason why I got this one. I wanted to know what the value of that resistor was. And believe me, you can imagine how cheesy it is to get this out of here. I still have to put the other one back together. Those Phillips head screws into the plastic, they're glued. And the heads are very soft. They round out very easily. So, yeah, we're going to, stay out of this one. That capacitor, the shrink is coming off of it. Very difficult to get some of these screws out of that. I took the top off. Let me see if I can get a shot of that resistor from up here. Jeez, no, it's hidden. You can't see it. Okay, I've gone ahead and applied power, and we're going to plug this in. I'm just looking over the components. That tape player has no buildup on the capstan or pinch wheel. Well, that doesn't even look like that's been used. We'll test the CD player, and even the record player portion doesn't appear to have been used very much at all either. It still has the needle protector here. I'll check the stylus. Careful with the lever, I don't want to break this off. You zoom in on that stylus. No, that stylus doesn't look very used at all either. I don't even see any dust buildup on it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try the turntable. I have my clip aside over here with the screws, and this does say tested. So what I'll do is I'll aim the, it's an indicator usually here, but there isn't on this one, so we'll guesstimate that it's in between those two slots there. Aim that over the motor shaft. Oh, silly thing, you gotta put the platter out the back. Oh, silly thing. Can't put it, you can't put the platter on or off when it's in the unit. Oh my goodness. Okay, I do believe I have the belt positioned over the motor shaft, and you give it a little nudge of a turn here. And if you're lucky, your drive is engaged. Let's turn it on and see what we get. Phono. We have power. I think I'm in the middle of cycle here. Oh, and there we go. I don't know if you heard that. 33. Of them, I like this one out of all of them with the auto return feature. So there we go. But what I want to show you is you can hear the amplifier is on. When you shut the turntable off, no amplifier. That got me a little tricked out on the other one. Okay, let's have a look at our genuine oak cardboard cabinet here. Solid oak. Some are advertising these as solid oak. Just be careful of that. I don't know if you can see though, the camera picks up 45's a little fast. Not bad. 33. Well, this is without a record on it either, so yeah, the camera picks it up better. Just a tad fast, but it doesn't have a record on it, so probably about right. The dampened Q actually works pretty good. Very worn record. I just want to see if it shuts off at the end. Oh yeah, see, the typical ends early. Probably this one will be okay. Good. Here's our original on the left, and here's our defective on the right that I've already been into, and they're pretty much, I think they're identical. This one does have a model number of ACC1, and this one has nothing. The pot for 78 there, that little blue potentiometer, is a 105. Over here we're a 105. Okay. 5 zeros. Seems kind of high. Alright, this is the chip that's shorted on our motor, the AN6652. It's a guess, but it's an educated guess, and it's right there on the motor. You can see it hiding behind there. And yeah, these motors, this is a Mabushi. These use Mabushi motors. And again, this motor, if I could get the pulley off, I could probably use it. But I'm not. I'll save it for another project. Because I don't think the motor is bad in this one. I just think the controller is. So I may, if I don't get my new one in a few days, I may rob the one off this one and put it in there as it's the same number. AN6652. There's also an AN6651 version, a little less current and I think a little less voltage, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, what we've come up with here, and I am not a mathematician, it was someone else I was working with that came up with how this thing is put together, these motors. You don't have the motor, you're out of luck, basically. And that's what it all comes down to. And everything's a big secret with these motors. They don't want you to get them here. Here's the pinout of it. That's the regulator. Power, ground, control. Oh, VCC, ground. VCC, control, ground, and motor, I believe is how that goes. Anyway, and these are your 6 on the motor. Is that right? I thought we had 5. These are all... We've got 5 on the motor, so that's incorrect. This is more elaborate. I'll get to that in a minute. And someone figured pretty much that the ratio is about 33.9 to 1. Take the 3 speeds of the motor divided by the phonograph speeds, and comes out about the same. Now the switch over here that goes to the motor. This has all been solved, but it took some doing, because you don't get any of this information with this stuff. You have to figure it out yourself. There's our regulator, there's our motor. Your 12 volt goes in here. That's minus, that's plus. And someone was able to figure out from this diagram what this means. There's your 78. Basically, 33, I was wondering, why is there an open pin on the switch? Well, 33 runs on its own. 33 runs on its own. 45 and 78, pin 5 to 3 are jumped. And for 78, 5 to 4 are jumped via the coarse speed adjust, as in this picture there. So it's basically a 2-speed motor that they've retrofitted for 3 speeds. It's like an add-on. When these initially came out, they were 2-speed. This is a knockoff of a Matsushita motor, and they don't make it anymore, Matsushita, so these guys have capitalized on it. Some diagrams there. Black, red, red, yellow, black, white. And that's this right here. One more time. 3 plus 5 is 45, 4 plus 5 is 78 via the resistor, and 33 is no connection. That's how you get your 3 speeds. Now, the physical limitations are our pulleys are not the same. And I knew that would be a problem. I don't think they go into the height and whatever of the pulley. And you can, if I tried to take this pulley off here and put it on the other one, I risk damaging both motors. Again, here are a couple pictures from the web. Here's our motor with the brass pulley installed. Here's a different brand from somewhere, but no pulley installed. I would have preferred that over this. I was always wondering what this minus plus BA means. There's actually, those are for the 2 speeds, is my guess. Minus is minus, plus. And initially this was a 2-speed motor, but again, they've changed the circuit board, added another pin here, and now you have 78 through a resistor. So it's really A, B, and C, or C, A, and B, or whatever way you want to figure that. But like I say, that 78 was an afterthought. And it's a clockwise motor. Here's your pinout. VCC control ground motor. And I found this similar circuit. There's other things going on with this design, but this is the patent for this and I don't even know if this is a 3-speed or a 2-speed. I really couldn't figure that out. It may be. It may be. Again, this doesn't show the 78th via a resistor. It only shows, there's your Achilles heel, motor, 2 leads. You have to kind of figure out what's going on here. The dotted lines may mean that this is all inclusive in the motor, but the switch wouldn't be. I thought this would be fun just to compare. Here's a player out of one of those other similar styles, and it's quite smaller. It is 3-speed. This one has some kind of contraptionary transistor switching circuit here. This one shuts off. Maybe that's a mute. I don't know. This does the same thing. It shuts off a little too early. It'll just shut off before the record's over. They didn't quite get that down. There is an adjustment here, but anyway. Similar situation with the motor, though. This, again, is not going to be a suitable replacement because its shaft is much. Let me get that belt out of here. That shelf is, that pulley is much taller also. It's not going to go. It's close. It's hard to tell on camera here. It's shorter. It is shorter. It's shorter. This is not my genre of music here. 1999. I know it says Sheila here, and I was like, oh, it's Vicks. Whose CD is it? Oh, but it took me a while to figure that out. This must be Vicodin. Oh, you opioid fans out there. Alright, well, let's see if the CD accumulates time. Well, that's good. I don't think this is a high hour unit.
This is a public service announcement brought to you in part by Slim Shady. The views and events.
Hi, my name is.
Okay. CD works. I've noticed on my other one, to get that board out, I had to take this whole, these knobs are glued. It's just horrible. And I had a heck of a time getting this bezel off because the dial pointer fell off when you take the knobs off. I can see this is broken from the factory. This one's not. I didn't break mine, but I can see how that easily happens because that's all that holds it in is 3 clasps. I'll bet that was made that way. Suppose I should try the tape, but we'll get to that in another time. Oh, it dims the power supply just getting on AM. Okay. Now this station that's in our backyard, but I guess it's okay. It's off a little bit actually because it should be on this side of 96. Okay. Where were we? AM? Too much noise here. Okay. That's enough of that for this phase. Next, if I don't get my chip for the motor in a number of days, I'm going to take the one off of this one and I'm going to place it in our defective motor. Quick wrap up of this. Let me cue that a second here. This is the original turntable. Oh, come on. Stay. And this was our donor here. Unit, which is fine. I replaced the chip in the motor, and like I anticipated, it ran. And it ran fine, both speeds, everything, and then I cranked up the volume, and it slowed down and stopped. I think it slowed down. I bring the volume back up, it ran fine. Crank the volume, it slowed down, and this time stopped. Like, what the heck? So it was getting the 14 volts to the B+. The motor wasn't running. New chip. I give up. This stone dead. I'm not screwing with it anymore. So I was able to, in the other section of the video, compare the spindle height. The shaft height is different, a little shorter on the replacement, but at least it's the, I believe, 2 millimeter size. And I was able to heat up the other motor and get the other brass pulley off, and I put the original plastic pulley, which you can't get on. So they sell these motors, but not made for this. And this is the super deluxe job with the auto return. Ooh. Auto shut off and a dampened cueing lever. So here's the original pulley. I don't know what was, there was some kind of glue on here, which obviously I burnt off, but you don't want to just brand new motor. Again, this is the original. Brand new motor, you don't want to go, they glued it, and you don't want to go prying on this to try and ease up that pulley, because I've ended up pulling the shaft right out of some of these motors. So the heat did the trick. It came off quite nicely, and I saved the motor. The motor needed adjusting for 33 and 45. I have not tacked it for 78 yet. I will, but it works well on 33 and it works well on 45, and it does work on 78. I just have not verified the speed yet. So silly. You got to put the album in the back slot. Let's go to 33 here. No, that's 78 there. The Super Deluxe Emerson. Okay, this is going to do it for this Emerson here. I've tacked up the 78. It was a bit fast. Now it's I have it a bit fast because of the weight of the, like 2%, because of the weight of the arm and the records and whatnot, and 78 isn't really 78 anyway. We're going to try some Bing Don't Beat Me Crosby. Please, please. I didn't do it, I promise. I won't do it again. I haven't wiped or done anything. Oh, for heaven's sakes, get on there.
Darling, you know I love you well. It always would be mine.
So to summarize, here's our old motor.
You left me with troubles on my mind. I'm walking.
I tried to throw in some engineering principles of this hookup, and sometimes I don't even know the answers. People refer back to the video. Is this such and such? I don't even remember when I do half this stuff, but get what you can out of it. And hopefully you learn something about these 3-speed. This is a 1130 and a 1520 RPM. Just a follow up for future reference, the resistor there, I believe we singed it a little too with our experiments. Looks like R7. The second band on this one is kind of burnt. I don't even know if this is going to come out, but that's a 22 ohm resistor, the only half watt one there. So R7 I'll call it. 22 ohms, that takes the brunt when the motor shorts out. It's singed on the other one, and believe it or not, I bought this one just to find the value of that resistor. The other one reads 22, so I'm going to leave it in there. And these are both going to the same owner, so they'll have two in the family. One for a backup in case one fails. But that's it. Thanks for watching. That's the Emerson NR303TT. One last note, I've gone and put the original table back in this, and yeah, it's doing 78. Having a little trouble at first with our switch over here. But it's alright. This one was in a moist. A lot of oxidation on this one. I think that switch could use a shot of deoxit. But I'm going to leave it for now, okay? Alright, that's it on the Emerson. Thanks for watching. I'd have to say this one has a little bit of chipmunk sound going on, this motor and this one, but yeah, it is. Well, this one's not getting a new motor, but that'll be it. This motor definitely has a little flutter, and a very worn out copy of that. Risk of electric shock. Do not open. Refer sir. Oh, never mind. Okay, now I'm jumping around a little bit. Here's our other original unit, and it's. I really had to dig into this one. The worst part being getting this dial off without breaking it to gain access to the board inside, which all I wanted to do was see, well, in the testing stages, that resistor right there. I don't know if you can see it if the light's too bright, but it's not even labeled R7 on in this one. There isn't. It's R515 right there. That is 22 ohm. And it still reads 22 ohm. So I'm leaving it. Oh, and this one I have to solder the lamps back on. This is a hot glue and stripped Phillips head screw nightmare. Okay, and they just tack the dial lights on the top of the diodes there. Lamp minus, it says right there, you can see. So I've got to tack that one and that one back on there and there, and line the dial up, and our antenna is loose. I got to put some glue on that AM bar, and yeah, let's put this thing back together. Okay, back on the underside of the other one in the shop. Yeah, one other thing, don't forget, very important, that you get your fiber spacers all lined up after you drop them inside the cabinet. Okay, and your stripped out Phillips head screws that you maybe managed to get out without stripping them. Okay, let's button this thing up. One website calls this solid oak finish. Yeah, solid particle oak fiberboard finish. Okay, luckily we have two 2-pin connectors with the same wires, and luckily at the time of disassembly here I marked that one with a Sharpie, so I know that that's the one that went there. That must be for the CD player. Okay, just something to keep track of, and it must have taken me, there are terminals there for those pilot lamps, but it took me between the rubbery wire and having to undo both of them. There's our pilot lamps in place. I just want to narrate another interesting piece while I was troubleshooting this. There's our 22 ohm overloaded resistor. I was suspecting these transistors here at first, and I removed the hot melt glue on here, and that says 12V1, and that's what clued me in, this 12V0 here. I don't even know if you can see that, 12V0, 12V1, and that's ground, and it's like, why are there two 12 volts? Because this is 12 volt 1 is fed off the motor, so once the switch is closed, 12 volt feeds the motor, and then 12 volt 1 comes off of the switch, and what was happening is you had your 14 volts for the motor. When the switch closed, it dropped down to 3 because of the short in the motor, and you never got your 12 volt 1, which muted the amplifier. The amplifier is muted if it does not see 12 volts. That's what threw me also. So two can play at that game. I'm going to take a little of this stick and seal. I put some on the wires there because those run the phonograph, and if I work on the phonograph ever again, which I hope not to, I don't want those wires coming off because I'm not disassembling this. And I'm going to put a little on our AM antenna bar here to hold that in place because that glue came loose. I'm going to tack that in place. Gosh, I'm in trouble. I have a fiber washer, and there's two on that side. There's none on that side. There's one here on the CD, and I recall one went here, so I'm going to put that I call it fiber washer, but you get the idea. But there are none on this side. There's 3 on this end, 1 in the middle and 2 on the side. Nothing on this side. You know, precision is what it's all about here. There's no mistaking that the last screw is right where the antenna is that we glued. But we managed to get that in and put another dab of glue. And we're going to need the glue for over here to hold this piece back on. It's all about the glue. Get your masking tape for the knobs. Okay, I've re-glued that piece on. Now for the test, I've already turned it on. I have both dial lights. And the hardest part was getting this dial out. And if you noticed, even on the one that I didn't touch, they broke one of the tabs. So this is extremely difficult to get out of here. And I managed to use a non-marring tool to get it out. And then the dial pointer falls off, of course. So let's fix that up, and we'll align it best we can. As soon as I get it over here to FM, I'm just going to use we have a station here in the center of the dial. So it tunes like, there's no... I'm gonna say that's it. I use this one to align. Now this one's off a little because, well, alright. Yeah, right in the center on 9.6. So, alright. Pop that on 9.6. Well, in all the excitement here, I seem to have misplaced that dial pointer. We'll have to take a look around for that. It's not with the screws. It should be in here. I've had this out, so... Okay, the hunt begins for the dial pointer. Oh, could this get any worse? Okay, you may have seen this in other videos, but the longer you have something apart, the less chance there is of it going back together. That being said, in my infinite wisdom, yes, there's our dial pointer along with the dial in a Ziploc baggie. And our C-clip for the turntable when we get to that point. Well, this one's pretty accurate. I'm not going and adjusting the oscillator. I don't know who aligns these. This one seems to be pretty good. Like I said, in the center. And you don't have much choice because there's a diamond cut out in this, so this is a nah. Little past. This one's a little past. But sure, I mean, it's got a diamond cut out, so you can't really. Not much wiggle room there. Okay, next will be the CD drawer unit, which is another. They happen to run the speaker wires through the middle of, so you have to undo the speaker wires, put the CD in, and then run the wires inadvertently right through the middle of the CD unit. Okay, here's our CD unit, and you had to gingerly, without breaking it, get the drawer off, and don't forget your fiber spacers. Anyway, this these CD players aren't any different than something you'd find in a much higher end unit, so you know, this will play as good as any of them. I still have that extra 2-pin connector that I don't know where it goes to. I thought it went to the CD unit. This one here, it must be another dial lamp or something. I don't know, it must be the one that's not marked. I'm gonna have to dig around for that. Alright, there's a 2-pin connector hiding in that corner over there, so that's where our missing one goes. Okay, I got the dial pointer in. Like I say, there were fingerprints on it. I wanted to not get any oil on our gold radio dial there, but there already were a couple fingerprints, but that's back in. Here's what I mean about the speaker leads. Go underneath the CD unit, so you have to take the whole CD unit off the base just to run 2 speaker wires through and put the plug back down there. I'm telling you, if I get this done in 2 hours, I'd be lucky. Hopefully this time I'm wasting here of my life shortens, doesn't shorten yours. Anyway, let's get this thing buttoned up. Okay, here's our 3-speed automatic return turntable, and over here is a similar one. But no, see the 2-speed model, earlier model, and I just want to show you that the motor does have one less terminal on it there. It's only got 4 versus 5 and no 78. You probably could put a 3-speed setup in this, but you know, I'm not even going to go there. But I thought it was just an adapted 2-speed to make it 78, but it in fact is different. This silly player, right out of the starting gate, unlatched when I got it, unlatched the hold down or try to set the hold down, it breaks right there. It broke the plastic. Just don't forget to lock the arm down to protect the stylus. Yeah, as the arm breaks, as the latch breaks. Oh my goodness. So anyway, I have a bread tie there to hold it. Oh, and this cue, come on. Alright. Alright, so you can hear the amplifier. You can hear the amplifier come on, like I was saying earlier with the DC. You hear the amplifier start. speed is much smoother on this one. I'll try cleaning the belt on this original down here, but that motor, I'm saying it's the motor because it cycles fine. It's just very worn. More surface noise than music on this copy. And when the motor stops, so does the amplification. We'll call this a wrap for the time pit. Hopefully my time pit, this was the time pit to learn why the motor didn't have voltage and had no amplification. Well, because the motor was drawing excessive current, it brought down the voltage from 14 to like 3, so the 12 volt 2 wouldn't get the unmute power to unmute the amplifier, and the motor was drawing excessive current, burning up the 22 ohm resistor on the main board. And don't forget your fiber washers and your glue and masking tape and whatnot. Okay.